Mick Foley has not worked a match since the 2012 Royal Rumble. And I'm being told that he is currently ranked number 7 in the AEW rankings. Now, he has not stepped in the ring for an actual match since the 2012 Royal Rumble. I think that must have been the spot that he came in and did the Sacco Cobra thing with Santino. And I could hardly call that a match. And if you've seen Mick moving around, then you know it's for the better that he's not in the ring anymore. But on the final episode of his Foley is Pod show that dropped this week, he's getting out of the podcast business, so this was the final episode. He said that he's given some thought to having one last match for his 60th birthday next year. But not just any match, a death match. Reason being, he says it would be a great incentive for him to drop 100 pounds that he wants to lose. He said the match would not take place in WWE because it would be too gory for WWE. Oh, Tony Khan is licking his chops right now. Ain't nothing too gory for that guy when it comes to these death matches. He said he put the idea to his 2 kids and they asked him, would you get hurt? And he told them, yeah, probably. I think it's a guarantee. Don't give me that probably bullshit. He said, but I wouldn't have to get my brain rattled, right? I'm not averse to a few stitcheroonies here and there. And he said he's already got 2 names in mind as a possible opponent, Jon Moxley or Matt Cardona. He thinks Moxley would be the easiest, but Cardona has that heat in the deathmatch world that he thinks could really make it something cool. He's looking for motivation to lose the weight. I know he was doing DDP yoga at one point. I don't know if he still does. He may have fallen off of it. Can't we get DDP to motivate his old friend? Drop by his house, pick up the phone, have a conversation, have a Zoom call, without this man having to go out and mutilate himself one last time. I mean, if that's what he thinks it's going to take to get himself in better shape, I'm sure Moxley would take care of him. Cardona would take care of him. Cardona is one of the safest guys out there. I mean, have you watched a Matt Cardona match? I've watched plenty of Matt Cardona matches. He'd be the easiest opponent for Mick Foley. So I'm not worried about that. But would Mick take care of himself? That's the question. I'm not worried about Moxley or Cardona taking care of him. Would Mick take care of himself? You know how these guys get. One last moment of glory or gory. And you're always one moment of glory away from making a very dumb decision. Someone buy this man a Peloton bike, please. Bodyslam.net has confirmed what Rikishi outright teased on his Twitter this week, that former MLW World Champion Jacob Fatu is officially a free agent. Rikishi tagged him in a tweet the other day and said he's been the baddest worker on the indie scene. It's time. Who will sign him, WWE or AEW? And the belief was that he was signed to an MLW deal through next year, possibly the end of next year. But he is, in fact, a free agent, and he can sign anywhere that he pleases. He still wrestled for MLW last night against Yuji Nagata. I believe Satoshi Kojima is their new MLW World Champion. I think he beat Alex Kane. Kojima is now their champion. I think Kojima was an MLW champion in 2002. And I saw something where I guess he lost the MLW title to Mike Awesome. That's how long it's been since Satoshi Kojima has been an MLW champion, but they just made him their new champion last night. Booker T came out on his podcast this week in favor of Fatu signing with WWE. And Booker, by the way, I saw is not going to be a part of the NXT Vengeance Day announced team tonight, or probably on NXT for a few weeks. Apparently he's having some kind of medical procedures, so we won't be seeing Booker on TV for a few weeks. But Booker has said that he wants to help Fatu get into WWE. And he admitted that he is trying to make it happen. He said, that's my game plan. I'm working as hard as I possibly can. This guy has been out there working his ass off on the indie scene, grinding. And the thing is, sometimes we make mistakes. But when we atone for those mistakes, that's when you know somebody just needs to give you a chance. And for me, someone gave me a chance, and look what it did for me. Someone needs to give Jacob Fatu a chance, and I'm going to be working in his corner as his advisor to get him all the way to the next level and over it if we possibly can. Booker served time in prison when he was 22 years old. He robbed a string of Wendy's restaurants. He worked at one. He didn't like the manager. So he and his friends robbed the place, and that went well. So they robbed a few more and he got caught. And he was able to turn his life around and have a successful career. So if he thinks he can help Fatu in some way, I think that's great. Fatu was arrested for armed robbery when he was 18 years old. He served time behind bars. Didn't decide he wanted to become a wrestler until he was flipping channels in jail one day. He came across the Usos on TV. And that's his family. Jacob's dad is Rikishi's twin brother. And the Usos and Solo Sikoa are Rikishi's sons. So, it's all in the family here. There are people that have worked for WWE with a criminal record. MVP spent 9 years in prison for armed robbery and kidnapping, and he still works there now. Where I can see it being a hindrance for him is if he's not able to travel to certain places outside the U.S. because he has a criminal record. And in some cases, you can travel some places but not others. I know that's been an issue before for some people. We've heard it. Actually, we've heard that with the Usos, I think, with traveling to Canada. Obviously, that's not a problem anymore because they were in Montreal, I think, at the Elimination Chamber last year. But we've heard that about Jeff Hardy, him not being able to travel out of the country to certain places. That I can see being a potential hindrance. It's certainly not a talent issue. He may be the most talented one in the family when it comes to his in-ring work. And I've had a front row seat for a lot of his matches when he was our world champion in House of Glory. I've seen what this man can do. For a big man, he's incredible. He would have fit in with the bloodline like a glove. Still would, if they wanted to keep it going. But I just can't sit through another year of Paul Heyman telling his phone to call Roman Reigns. But if they brought in Fatu to breathe new life into that group after WrestleMania, maybe even form a team with Solo Sikoa, I think Fatu could easily break out on his own as a huge babyface. He could be wrestling Roman Reigns, not just standing side by side with him. There's a ton of potential there. And I know he would love to be part of it, but does WWE feel the same way? I have to think that Roman and those guys would go to bat for him, and their word would have some sway. But it's a new world now, with Endeavor running the show. He would thrive, though, in WWE. He would thrive in AEW, but in WWE, with the love they have for that family, he would be a much bigger star.